Thank you to Bishop Eaton and the entire ELCA for inviting us here. Greetings in Christ Jesus. My name is Pastor Mandy France. I currently serve as the pastor in Bird Island, Minnesota, a very small rural community. And before that, I was a pastoral intern at Grace Lutheran in Dawson, another very small rural farming community. It was during my internship that I saw a need, especially post-election. There was a rise in harmful and hurtful rhetoric surrounding the Muslim community. I heard hateful speech, even people in my own community wishing and talking about banning Muslims from this country. It was at that point that I realized something needed to be done. Dr. Ayaz, Virji, was my physician at the time, and I knew that him and his family were the only Muslims in this community. And I knew that they were struggling. So I approached them and asked them if they would collaborate with me to educate people on Islam, the real Islam, not what you see on TV. And they graciously accepted my invitation. We encountered a lot of resistance, anywhere from protest to even death threats. As a Christian leader that had befriended a Muslim family, I was personally attacked by clergy in the area regarding my faith in Jesus Christ. They questioned my ability to be a pastor in this church and publicly humiliated me on more than one occasion. But we persisted because we are called to respond when there is injustice. We currently together travel through rural America, and we stand shoulder to shoulder, Ayaz holding his Quran, I hold my Bible, and we educate people, saying it does not have to be threatening to you to befriend and love and be a neighbor to somebody that does not necessarily believe the same beliefs that you do. We gained a lot of public recognition for this, and a lot of amazing opportunities have come about through our work and efforts in rural America. You don't need to be a scholar, you don't need to be a pastor to do this work. What you need to do is see the need of our Muslim brothers and sisters that are being silenced, that are being stereotyped, and you need to step up and create safe space for them to share their stories. As Christians, we have privilege and able to create that space for them. You just need to love your neighbor. It's that simple. But although it's harder than it sounds, but we need to follow in Jesus Christ's footsteps. Love your neighbor, not just the Christian neighbors, but all neighbors, because we are all created by the same God. It is at this time that I have the most honor and pleasure to introduce to you my beloved friend who I could not do any of this work without, Dr. Ayaz Virji.
Thank you, Pastor Mandy. That was my daughter screaming. I want to thank the ELCA for having us. I want to thank Bishop Eaton for having us. It is indeed a pleasure and an honor to be here with all of you today. As Pastor Mandy mentioned, I'm a physician in Dawson, Minnesota. I graduated not too far from here, down the road at Georgetown, did my undergrad in medical school there. I did my residency at Duke University. So post-November 8th was tough for us. It was I think, secret around the community. We took the election somewhat hard. Things were changing. And for us, myself, I've spent most of my career working with free clinics, whether the Urban Ministries Clinic when I was a resident at Duke, or the Red Crescent Clinic in Tampa, or the Hattie Medical Clinic now. I came to rural Minnesota to help fill that void because there's a big void of healthcare in rural America. Dawson, if you don't know, is a town of 1,500 people. It's not easy to get doctors out there. So we volitionally did that. And then after the election, we took it personally that our friends that we love, great people that we still love and care about and are proud to have as neighbors, voted for somebody who wanted us on a registry and who treated refugees of terrorism as if they were the terrorists. And that was offensive and it was difficult. So I would say, we had some difficult times after that. And soon after, of course, within 10 days of the election, there were over 900 reported hate crimes. And then hate crimes increased by 86% against minorities in the first 3 months of this year. So that's when Pastor Mandy and Grace Lutheran Church reached out to us. And she saw that we were suffering. And I was really touched by that. Because here's somebody who doesn't at least have a direct stake of being on the receiving end of Islamophobia and xenophobia, who came to help me and to bring our message. So that to me was Jesus' message. I went to a Lutheran school for 10 years of my life, and this was the real thing. And so I was inspired. By that. So I took my anger and frustration to the pulpit with Pastor Mandy, and we started speaking what was the actual message of Islam. What does 99.99%, if you actually look at the statistics, of us believe and do? Who was Muhammad as a man? So we've kind of taken it on the road to some degree, and we have 6 more lectures scheduled over the next 6 weeks. And despite both of our full-time jobs and being very busy, we still do it because the work has to be done. And if it's not us, then who? Who will do it? And it's hard. There are death threats. There are these things that come along. But there's also support. There's also people who care and have a lot of love and kindness in their heart of all faiths, not just Muslims or Christians, but all faiths, that actually send us letters of encouragement. And I got a letter from Chloe from Vermont. She was a 7-year-old who says, Dr. Virji, I want to be just like you when I grow up. Please keep doing what you're doing. And those things are very heartfelt, and they actually give me strength. So I would remind myself and all of us here, 1 John 3:18, our love should not just be words and talk. It must be true love, which shows itself in action. And to my Muslim friends and family who may be listening into this conference, I would say, also let us take the example of the ELCA. Let's not wait for others to reach out to us. We should reach out to them too. It's not just their responsibility. We have to show ourselves and our own faith. And we should not hesitate to condemn the actions of extremist groups and terrorist groups who do not represent us, who want to try to represent us, groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS and Taliban. They no more represent Islam than Dylan Roof represents Christianity. And I categorically... I categorically condemn their actions, their hatred, their murder, their rape, and I categorically say if Muhammad was alive today, he would be the first person to condemn them, and he would be the first person in line to fight them because of their injustice. We all need to act. We can't just pray this away. Although prayer is critical, we have to do what we have to do in our communities to make a difference. And I'll end with a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. in Strength to Love. The idea that man expects God to do everything leads inevitably to a callous misuse of prayer. I'm certain we need to pray for God's help, but we are greatly misled if we think the struggle will be won only by prayer. God, who gave us minds for thinking and bodies for working, would defeat his own purpose if he permitted us to obtain through prayer what may come through work and intelligence. Prayer is a marvelous and necessary supplement to our feeble efforts, but it is a dangerous substitute. So with that, I'll close. I thank you once again for having us here. I wish you peace and love. Assalamu alaikum.